In 2004, a survey asked wealthy Americans a single question: how much would you need to feel financially secure? The people who already had $10 million answered 18.1 million. The people with 5 million said 10.4. The ones with $500,000 to $1 million said 2.4 million. Every group named roughly double what they were already holding. So if reaching the number is not what does it, what is your brain actually measuring? You have heard the easy answer to this. Money does not buy happiness. That answer is wrong, and we can now say so precisely. In 2010, two researchers published a number that went everywhere: $75,000. Above that income, they found, day-to-day happiness stopped improving. That figure is still quoted today. It is in most of the videos on this exact topic. In 2023, it was overturned by one of the people who published it. Daniel Kahneman went back to the raw data with the researcher who disagreed with him, and a third scientist to referee. For most people, happiness keeps climbing with income well past $100,000. In the happiest group, it speeds up. Only the least happy fifth ever flattens out. So money keeps working, which makes what you are feeling stranger, not simpler. Because if more money keeps helping, the finish line should eventually stop moving. It does not. Here is why. Your brain does not have a scale for money. It has a ruler, and the ruler is borrowed. A scale reads an amount. $40,000 is $40,000 in any room on Earth. A ruler only reads a distance, and a distance needs a zero to measure from. Your brain sets that zero at the people around you. That is not a comparison somebody invented to make a point. It was measured. In 2010, researchers tested income against the ranked position of that income. The ranked position predicted life satisfaction. Absolute income did not. Neither did the average income of the people nearby. Only the place in the order. Sit with that, because it is doing all the work in this video. The number in your account is not the input. Your place in the line is. And people will choose the line over the money if you make them pick. In 1995, researchers offered a choice: $50,000 a year while everyone around you earns $25, or $100,000 a year while everyone around you earns $200. The second one is twice the money, twice the rent covered, twice the groceries, twice everything real. More than half of them took the 50. They gave up half of their actual income to move up one place in the line. That is the ruler, choosing for them. Now watch what a borrowed ruler does when something good happens. Think about the last raise you genuinely wanted. For a few weeks it was enormous. Then it was just your salary. The ruler did not break. It re-zeroed. Your new normal became the mark you measure from. The cleanest evidence for that is almost 50 years old and still uncomfortable. In 1978, researchers interviewed 22 major lottery winners. They compared them to 22 ordinary neighbors and to 29 people paralyzed in accidents. On a 0 to 5 scale, the winners rated their present happiness 4.0. The neighbors rated theirs 3.82. Winning was worth about 0.2 of a point. And there is a second finding in that study that is worse than the first. The winners took significantly less pleasure from ordinary things. Breakfast, a magazine, a compliment from someone at work. The win had moved their zero, so everything underneath it now read as less. That is not a story about lottery winners. It is the process you run on every raise you will ever get. So the ruler re-zeros. The next question is who decides where the zero lands? For almost all of human history, the answer was the 20 or 30 people you could actually see. Now it is whoever the feed shows you, all day, selected for being ahead of you. And that same 2010 study found something specific about that. Upward comparisons weigh more than downward ones, not equally, more. Which means a feed made of people above you is not neutral information. It is a thumb on the ruler. This is where it stops being psychology and becomes measurable. In 2022, the Federal Reserve measured American family net worth two different ways. The median, the household exactly in the middle, was $192,900. The mean, the average, was $1,063,700. The average American household holds about 5.5 times what the typical one holds, because an average gets dragged upward by the very top. A rank does not. The average you are quietly measuring yourself against is a household almost nobody actually lives in. Your ruler's zero is set somewhere most people never stand. Now look at what people say they are aiming for. In 2025, Schwab asked 2,200 Americans what counts as wealthy. The answer came back at $2.3 million. Merely comfortable was 839,000, Set that against the real middle of 192,900. The target people name is roughly 12 times what the typical household actually has, and only 11% of them said they had already arrived. Now hold that next to one more number, because together they say something neither says alone. 11% of Americans call themselves wealthy. In the Federal Reserve's 2024 survey, 73% said they were doing okay or living comfortably. 73% are financially fine. 11% feel rich. Both of those are true at the same time, about the same country, and the space between them is not an income gap. That is 62 percentage points of people who are okay and do not feel wealthy. No amount of money closes that gap, because an amount was never what opened it. The whole thing comes down to this, and it is arithmetic rather than character. An amount has a ceiling. You can reach a number and stand on it. A rank has no ceiling, by definition. There is always a place further up the line, so when you ask how much would be enough, you are asking a ruler for a reading it cannot produce. Enough is not a mark on this instrument, which is why the people with $10 million answered 18.1. They were not being greedy. They were reading their ruler correctly. Their zero had traveled up with them, and the distance to the next mark looked exactly the way it always had. There is one last study, and it explains why you probably do not believe any of this applies to you. In 1998, researchers asked 1,993 students in California and the Midwest how satisfied they were with life. Both groups predicted the Californians would be happier. The Californians were not. Their reported satisfaction was the same. People are confident about how a change will feel, and wrong. Let us be careful about what this does and does not say. It does not say money stops mattering. The 2023 research is clear that it keeps helping. It does not say wanting more is a character flaw. The ruler is standard equipment. It says the amount and the feeling are two different measurements taken with two different instruments. The amount sits on your statement. It is a real number, and you can move it. The feeling sits on a borrowed ruler whose zero is other people. Expecting the first one to settle the second is the mistake, not the wanting, the expecting, and you can see the entire machine in that first survey. Every group named about double. The 10 million group, the 5 million group, the 500,000 group. Same answer, different zeros. They were not describing an amount of money. They were describing a distance, and the distance stays about the same because you carry the ruler with you. You cannot finish a measurement with an instrument whose zero moves when you do. The amount is the part you can change. The instrument is the part you can notice. So there is one thing worth taking out of this. The next time the number in your head moves, and it will, ask whose ruler you just picked up. Not to feel bad about the answer, just to see it, because it is almost always one specific person or one specific feed. If this made the last few years of your own money make more sense, subscribe. That is the whole ask. And if you want to see this same machine with a much bigger paycheck attached, watch Broke on a Good Salary, the two traps that look identical. It is next.